The sun rose gently over the small town, casting golden light on the streets and the park where Mira and Moti often played. It was a quiet morning, yet Mira felt a strange sense of anticipation. She looked at Moti, who sat alert by the doorway, his tail wagging slightly. Something in his eyes told her that today would be special. After breakfast, Mira packed a small bag with water, a notebook, and a few snacks. Moti followed her closely, his leash held firmly in her hand. They decided to visit the abandoned house again, hoping to explore a part they had not yet discovered. Mira carried the letters, photographs, and old coins they had found previously. Moti seemed unusually focused, sniffing the ground and occasionally stopping to look back at her, as if ensuring she was close. When they reached the house, the front door creaked as they entered. Dust swirled in the sunlight, streaming through the broken windows. Moti led the way to a corner of the house they had not explored before. Behind a stack of old wooden furniture, Moti stopped and barked, pawing at the floor. Mira knelt down and pushed aside the furniture carefully. Her eyes widened as she saw a small trapdoor partially hidden under a faded rug. "This must lead somewhere," Mira whispered. She looked at Moti. "Do you want to see what is inside?" Moti barked softly and nudged the trapdoor with his nose. Mira lifted it and found a narrow staircase leading down to a small underground room. The walls were made of old bricks and faint light came from a small opening near the ceiling. Moti stepped down first, then turned to make sure Mira followed. Inside the room, Mira gasped. Shelves lined the walls, filled with more letters, books, and objects that seemed very old and valuable. In the middle of the room stood a wooden chest. It was locked, but the lock looked rusty and fragile. Mira carefully opened it. Inside, she found a collection of rare coins, handwritten journals, and even a small jewelry box. The items were beautiful and precious, each telling a story of the family who once lived here. Moti barked happily and wagged his tail. He nudged Mira gently as if saying, "We found it together." As Mira explored the chest, she noticed a small envelope at the bottom. She opened it carefully and found a letter addressed to the finder of these treasures. Her heart raced as she read the words. The letter explained that the house had belonged to a kind family who had lived in the town long ago. They wanted someone with a good heart to discover their treasures, someone who would use them wisely and keep their memories alive. Mira looked at Moti, her eyes shining. "It's meant for us, Moti. It is because of you that we found this. You guided me here." Moti barked softly and licked her hand. Mira realized that saving Moti long ago had not only given him a home, but had also led them to this incredible discovery. His loyalty and courage had brought her to something that would change her life forever. They carefully carried the treasures home. Mira's mother, Sunita, was amazed when she saw the collection. "These are priceless, Mira," she said, her eyes wide with wonder. "And Moti, you guided her to this. You are more than a dog. You are a hero." Mira smiled and hugged Moti tightly. "We did it together, little friend. This is our adventure, and it is just the beginning." Over the next few days, the town became curious about the discovery. Mira, with her mother's help, showed some of the items to the local museum. The museum director was impressed. "These letters, photographs, and coins are valuable, not just in money but in history," he said. "Thanks to you, Mira, and your brave dog, we can preserve this family's story for everyone." The news spread quickly. People in the town admired Mira and Moti. Children wanted to hear about their adventures, and adults respected the little girl and her heroic dog. Moti became a small celebrity in the town, but he remained humble, always staying close to Mira, ready to protect and guide her. One afternoon, as Mira walked with Moti near the river, she noticed a group of children trying to cross a slippery path. The ground was wet from recent rain and one child almost slipped. Moti barked loudly and ran ahead, guiding the children safely across. Mira followed, smiling. She realized that Moti's bravery and awareness could help people in ways she had never imagined. From that moment, Mira decided that she and Moti would continue helping the town whenever possible. They would find small problems, assist people, and share kindness wherever they went. Moti's presence had already changed her life, and she knew their journey was far from over. One evening, as the sun set, Mira sat with Moti in the garden. The sky was painted with shades of orange and pink, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves. Mira looked at Moti and whispered, "You saved my life in ways I cannot explain. If I had not helped you that day, we would never have found the treasure. and I would never have discovered the joy of helping others with you by my side." Moti rested his head on her lap and wagged his tail slowly. His eyes were calm and wise. Mira felt a deep sense of gratitude and love. She realized that small acts of kindness could create enormous changes. By saving Moti, she had not only given him a home, but had also opened the door to new adventures, courage, and joy. The bond between Mira and Moti grew stronger every day. They explored the town together, discovered hidden places, helped neighbors, and even inspired other children to care for animals and look out for one another. Mira's heart was full of happiness, knowing that her decision to save a little stray dog had brought so much goodness into her life. One morning, while feeding Moti in the garden, Mira noticed that people from the museum had come to thank her personally. They praised her for preserving the treasures and shared that the town would soon organize an exhibition to display the letters, photographs, and coins. Mira's eyes sparkled with pride, and Moti barked happily, running around her in joy. Mira understood that the most important lesson from this adventure was not just about treasure or discovery. It was about love, trust, and courage. Moti had shown her that loyalty, kindness, and bravery could create magic in the world. Together, they had not only saved lives but had also uncovered history and inspired the town. As the days passed, Mira and Moti continued their life filled with small adventures, learning, and helping others. Their story became a legend in the town, told to children and shared in schools. Everyone remembered the little girl who had saved a stray dog, and the little dog who had changed her life forever. One quiet evening, Mira sat on the porch with Moti by her side. She looked at the stars and whispered, "Thank you, Moti, for everything. You are my friend, my hero, and my family. Because of you, my life is full of joy and love." Moti barked softly, nudging her hand with his nose as if answering, "I will always be with you." From that day onward, Mira knew that no matter what happened, she and Moti would face life together. Their bond was unbreakable, their hearts connected, and their adventures endless. The little girl who had saved a stray dog had gained more than a pet. She had gained a loyal friend, a protector, and a companion who would change her life forever. And so the story of Mira and Moti continued, filled with love, courage, and kindness. Together they proved that even the smallest acts of care could lead to the greatest adventures and the most extraordinary life changes. Ravi stood in front of the small wooden cabin with his daughter beside him. His hand held hers tightly, as if letting go would mean losing everything he had left in this world. The cabin stood quietly among tall pine trees. Its walls were worn, its windows cracked, and the roof had patches where rain might leak. Even the steps leading up to the door were broken. It looked less like a house and more like an abandoned shed. But to Ravi and his daughter, this was not just wood and nails. This was survival. Mira, only 8 years old, tilted her head and looked at the cabin. Her eyes were large and curious, and her lips pressed together in a way that showed both fear and wonder. "Papa, will this be our home now?" she asked softly. Ravi looked at her face and forced a smile. His voice carried a tired strength when he answered, "Yes, Mira. This is all we've got now." Those words weighed heavily on him. He had been a soldier once, a man who carried courage on his shoulders and marched without fear. But war had taken much from him. It had taken his friends, his peace, and even his health. When he returned from service, he expected to find comfort in family life. Instead, life tested him harder. 2 years ago, his wife Annika had passed away suddenly, leaving him alone with a little girl who still asked about her mother every night. Ravi tried to be both father and mother, but some days he felt he was failing at both. The cabin had come into his life like a strange gift. A lawyer had found him in the city weeks earlier, holding out a thin envelope with Annika's name on it. Inside were papers that said she had left behind a small property, a cabin in the woods. It was valued at only $5, which made no sense to him. Why had Annika never spoken of it? Why leave behind such a place instead of money or land? Ravi did not understand, but with no money left and no roof over their heads, he accepted it. Now they stood at its door, holding their breath. Ravi pushed the old door open. The wood creaked loudly as if waking from a long sleep. Dust floated in the air and cobwebs clung to the corners. The smell of old wood filled their noses. It was not a warm welcome, but it was still shelter. Mira stepped inside first. She walked carefully, her small shoes tapping the wooden floor. "It is dark, Papa," she said. Her voice was a mixture of complaint and excitement. Ravi followed with a firm step. He glanced around and noticed an old table, a broken chair, and a fireplace made of stone. The place looked forgotten, yet it carried a strange warmth. Maybe it was because this was something Annika had left behind. Maybe her memory lived in these walls. "Do you like it, Mira?" Ravi asked. She ran to a window, wiped the dust from the glass with her sleeve, and looked outside. The forest spread wide and deep, filled with shadows and sunlight. She smiled, showing the little gap between her teeth. "It is quiet here, Papa. I like it." Ravi nodded. Quiet was something he had not felt in years. After the sounds of war and the noise of the city, silence felt like medicine. He set down the small bag they carried, which held all their belongings, and picked up an old broom leaning against the wall. He started sweeping slowly, pushing away the dust of years. Mira joined him, picking up sticks from the floor and brushing dirt from the windows with her small hands. They worked together until their faces were covered with sweat and dirt. By evening, the cabin looked cleaner. It was still old, still broken, but now it was livable. As night approached, Ravi searched the fireplace. He found dry wood stacked in a corner, maybe left by whoever had lived here long ago. He lit a fire, and soon flames danced brightly, sending warmth across the room. The light made the wooden walls glow, and the shadows danced like quiet spirits. Ravi sat down beside his daughter, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. She leaned against him, tired but happy. "We will make this place our home," he whispered. His voice was firm, but inside his heart questions grew. Why had Annika kept this cabin a secret? Why had she never spoken of it? Not even once during their marriage. When Mira finally fell asleep beside the fire, Ravi began exploring. He moved the chair, lifted the rug, and tapped the floorboards. One board gave a hollow sound. He bent down and pulled at it carefully. Beneath it was a small hidden space. His hand shook slightly as he reached inside and pulled out a wooden chest. The chest was not large, but it was heavy. It had an iron clasp holding it shut. The wood was dark and polished, as if it had been made with care. Ravi placed it on the table and stared at it for a long time. When Mira stirred in her sleep, she opened her eyes halfway and whispered, "What is that, Papa?" "I do not know," Ravi replied, his heart beating fast. He did not want to open it yet, not in the dark, not with his daughter awake and curious. He brushed her hair gently and said, "Sleep, Mira. We will see later." But even as he spoke, his own mind was full of questions. Why had Annika hidden a chest under the floor? What secrets did it hold? Ravi touched the cold metal of the clasp and whispered softly, "Annika, what were you keeping from me?" Outside, the night grew colder. The wind moved through the trees, making a sound like whispers in the dark. The forest seemed to guard its secrets, just as the cabin guarded Annika's. Ravi sat awake for a long time, staring at the chest. The fire crackled and his daughter breathed softly in sleep. This cabin was more than a home. He could feel it. It was a doorway to something hidden, a part of his wife's life he had never known. And tomorrow he would begin to uncover it. The morning sun shone weakly through the trees, casting thin lines of light on the dusty floor of the cabin. Ravi woke early, careful not to wake Mira, who was still sleeping soundly beside him. His mind was full of thoughts about the wooden chest hidden under the floorboards. The night had been long, filled with questions that would not leave him. He sat at the small table and looked at the chest again. The iron clasp glinted in the sunlight. Ravi took a deep breath, feeling both excitement and fear. What if it was nothing? What if it was something dangerous? But a part of him knew this was important. This was a piece of Annika's life he had never seen before. Finally, he lifted the clasp. It was stiff, but it opened with a click. The lid creaked as it moved, and a faint smell of old paper and wood came out. Inside, the chest was lined with soft cloth, and on top lay a bundle of letters tied with a ribbon. Beneath the letters was a small notebook, a map folded carefully, and a metal key. Ravi picked up the first letter. The handwriting was unmistakable. Annika's. Her letters were neat, careful, and full of tiny symbols that made him pause. He opened it slowly and began to read. "Ravi, if you are reading this, it means I am gone. There are things I could not tell you while I was alive. I wanted to protect you and Mira, but the truth cannot stay hidden forever. I am leaving behind this cabin, this chest, and everything you will need to understand. Trust your heart and follow carefully." Annika. Ravi's hands trembled. He read the letter twice, then placed it down gently. Anika had wanted him to find this. She had wanted him to see this chest, to learn what she had kept secret. He opened the notebook. Inside were pages filled with careful notes. There were names, dates, locations, and symbols he did not understand. But one thing was clear. Anika had been working on something important, something serious. Ravi's heart raced as he turned the pages. She had not just been a teacher, a mother, and a wife. She had been involved in a mission that no one had known about. He picked up the map next. It was old but well kept. It showed the forest around the cabin and places marked with symbols similar to those in the notebook. One place in particular was circled multiple times. Ravi did not know why, but he felt a strong pull toward it. "Mira," he whispered. "Wake up. I need your help." Mira stirred and blinked at him sleepily. "Papa, what is it?" "I found something," Ravi said, keeping his voice calm. "Something that belonged to your mother. I think she left us a message. Something important." Mira's eyes widened. "A message from Mama?" "Yes," Ravi said. "And we need to understand it." They spent the morning going through the chest together. Ravi explained carefully, using words Mira could understand. He told her that Anika had been part of something secret, something that had helped many people even though no one knew. Mira listened quietly, absorbing every word. She had missed her mother deeply, and now it felt like a piece of her mother was speaking to them through this chest. As the sun climbed higher, Ravi decided they needed to explore the first location on the map. He packed a small backpack with supplies: water, a flashlight, a notebook, some snacks, and the metal key from the chest. He also brought along the letters in the notebook. Mira insisted on carrying her own little bag, proud to help her father. They stepped out into the forest. The cabin faded behind them, hidden among the tall trees. The air smelled of pine and earth. Birds sang and small animals rustled in the underbrush. Ravi felt a mixture of fear and determination. The forest was unfamiliar, but he knew he had to follow this path for Mira and for Anika. After walking for nearly an hour, they reached a clearing. It was small, surrounded by thick trees, and in the center stood a stone pillar, half buried in moss and dirt. Ravi checked the notebook and saw that Anika had drawn a sketch of a pillar just like this one. Mira ran toward it, curious and fearless. "Papa, look! It's just like Mama drew." Ravi knelt beside her and examined the stone. At the base, there was a small keyhole. He remembered the metal key from the chest and carefully inserted it. The key turned with a satisfying click, and a small compartment opened, revealing another set of letters and a thin, folded document. Ravi took them out slowly. The letters were older, written by someone Anika had worked with. The document appeared to be instructions, coded in a way that only someone who knew Anika's system could understand. Ravi read aloud carefully, deciphering the simple notes Anika had left. She was helping people," Ravi said slowly. "People who were in danger, who had nowhere to go. Mama had a mission to protect them." Mira listened intently. "Like superheroes?" Ravi smiled, a sad but proud smile. "Yes, Mira. She was like a superhero, but she never told anyone." They spent hours in the clearing, uncovering hidden messages and following small clues that led them deeper into the forest. Each discovery made Ravi more certain. Anika's life had been bigger than he had known. She had balanced family and an unseen mission, and she had done it quietly without recognition. By late afternoon, they reached another marker on the map, a small cave hidden behind a thick curtain of vines. The entrance was narrow, dark, and mysterious. Ravi shone his flashlight inside and saw shelves built into the stone walls, holding boxes filled with more letters, maps, and documents. "This is incredible," Ravi whispered. "Mama left a trail for us. She wanted us to find this." Mira stepped carefully inside, holding her father's hand. "It's like a secret world," she said. "Mama built this for us." Ravi nodded, realizing something important. Anika had known her time might be short. She had planned for this moment. She had left behind her secrets so that he and Mira could continue her work if needed, or at least understand her life. As they explored the cave, Ravi felt a mix of emotions: grief, pride, and a strange hope. The pain of losing Anika was still there, sharp and heavy, but now he also felt a connection to her stronger than ever. He had never known this side of her, yet now it was as if she was walking beside them, guiding them through the forest. By evening, they returned to the cabin, their backpacks heavier, but their hearts lighter. Ravi cleaned the chest again, organizing the letters and documents carefully. He placed the notebook on top, then the folded maps and key. Mira helped arranging the letters in neat stacks. "Papa," she asked, "do you think Mama would want us to follow her mission?" Ravi looked at her, thinking deeply. "I don't know if we can do everything she did, Mira, but we can try to understand it and maybe help a little where we can." "That is what she would want." Mira nodded, smiling through her tired eyes. She felt proud of her mother and proud to be helping her father. Ravi felt something he had not felt in a long time: purpose. The cabin, the chest, the forest, and the hidden cave were no longer just mysterious places. They were a path, a way to connect with Annika and to continue a part of her life. As night fell, Ravi lit the fireplace again. Mira curled up beside him, holding the notebook in her small hands. They sat quietly, reading some of Annika's letters together. The fire cast shadows on the walls and the forest outside remained calm, as if waiting for their next move. Ravi knew one thing for certain: this journey was only beginning. Annika's secrets were not dangerous, but they were important. They were a map to her life, her mission, and her heart. And Ravi understood that following this path would not only teach him about Annika, but also help him grow stronger for Mira. For the first time since losing his wife, Ravi felt a spark of hope. The cabin, once abandoned and empty, now felt alive. It was not just a place to sleep. It was a place to remember, a place to learn, and a place to start again. Tomorrow he would continue. They would follow the next clue, uncover the next message, and step further into the life Annika had left behind. The morning sun broke through the trees, casting long shadows across the cabin. Ravi had barely slept, his mind still full of the notes and letters from the hidden cave. Mira, on the other hand, woke early, her energy unbound, ready for the next adventure. "Papa, are we going today?" she asked, tugging at his sleeve. "Yes, Mira," Ravi said, smiling. "We have more to discover. Mama left us clues and we need to follow them." After a quick breakfast of bread and fruit, they packed their small backpacks again. Ravi included the notebook, letters, maps, and the metal key. He also brought a flashlight and a small first aid kit. Mira insisted on taking her little backpack too, filled with snacks and a notebook for her own notes. As they stepped out of the cabin, the forest greeted them with the fresh smell of morning dew. Birds chirped high in the branches and small animals rustled in the underbrush. Ravi led the way, following the map Annika had left. The first clue had led them to the stone pillar. The second, according to the map, would be a small lake hidden in the middle of the forest. Ravi and Mira walked for hours, crossing narrow streams and climbing over fallen logs. Mira held her father's hand tightly at times, afraid of slipping but excited to see the forest up close. "Papa, it feels like we are explorers," she said, eyes wide with wonder. Ravi chuckled. "Yes, we are. Just like explorers who follow maps to find treasure." Finally, as the sun reached its highest point, they found the lake. It was small but beautiful, surrounded by trees and wildflowers. The water reflected the sky, and a gentle breeze rippled across its surface. In the distance, a large rock jutted out of the water. On closer inspection, Ravi noticed markings similar to those in Annika's notebook. He knelt beside the rock and studied the symbols. They seemed to indicate a specific order of actions. Ravi took the metal key from his backpack and examined it. The symbols suggested that the key needed to unlock a hidden compartment nearby. Mira watched closely, her small fingers tracing the edge of the rock. "Papa, do you think Mama made this?" "Yes, Mira. She left everything carefully. She wanted us to find it step by step," Ravi replied, smiling at her excitement. Ravi searched the ground around the rock and finally found a small, hidden lock embedded in the earth. He inserted the key, and with a soft click, a small compartment opened. Inside was a folded map, a notebook, and a small metal box. Ravi carefully opened the box and found several small tools, a compass, and a small envelope. He opened the envelope. Inside was a letter from Annika, written in her familiar handwriting. It read, "Ravi, you are doing well. The mission I started must continue carefully. Every step you take must be thoughtful. These tools and maps will guide you. Trust your heart and always protect Mira." Ravi's eyes softened with emotion. He felt Annika's presence strongly in that moment. Even though she was gone, her guidance was here, leading him and Mira. Mira spoke softly, almost to herself. "Mama wanted us to be brave. She wanted us to help. Yes, Mira, Ravi said, placing a hand on her shoulder. She wanted us to carry a part of her mission forward. The next hours were spent studying the new map. Ravi realized that the path Annika had left was not just about finding objects. It was about understanding her work. Each location held information about people she had helped, messages she had delivered, and instructions to protect those in danger. It was clear that Annika had worked quietly without anyone knowing, to make the lives of others better. As the sun began to descend, they decided to follow the next clue on the map, leading them toward a small village at the edge of the forest. Ravi felt nervous. He had been in villages before during his time as a soldier, but never on a mission like this and never with Mira. Yet, he felt the responsibility to understand Annika's path. The village appeared peaceful, with children playing near a fountain and farmers tending to small gardens. But Ravi noticed a small shop at the corner that matched one of the sketches in Annika's notebook. He led Mira toward it cautiously. Inside the shop, the owner was an elderly woman with kind eyes. She smiled when she saw Ravi and Mira, as if she had been expecting them. "You must be Ravi," she said. "Annika mentioned you." Ravi froze. "She did?" "Yes," the woman replied. "She helped many people in secret. She spoke of you and Mira. She said you would continue her work one day." Ravi felt a lump in his throat. "Do you know about her mission?" he asked quietly. The woman nodded. "She kept it secret for safety, but I can help guide you. Follow her instructions carefully. She trusted you with something very important." Ravi and Mira spent hours in the shop, learning from the woman about the people Annika had helped. She showed them letters, photographs, and lists of names. Ravi realized that Annika had been saving people from dangerous situations, providing shelter, food, and guidance. She had never sought recognition, never wanted credit. She had done it quietly because she believed in helping others. Mira listened carefully, absorbing every word. "Papa, Mama was amazing," she said softly. "I want to be like her." Ravi smiled, holding her hand. "She was amazing, Mira, and now we can continue her work in our own way." As evening fell, Ravi and Mira returned to the cabin. Their minds were full of information and their hearts felt a new sense of purpose. The forest, once quiet and lonely, now seemed alive with possibility. The chest, the maps, and Annika's letters were more than objects. They were a guide, a connection to her mission and her heart. Ravi prepared a small dinner and sat with Mira by the fire. She held a notebook and started writing her own notes, sketches, and thoughts about Annika's mission. Ravi watched her carefully, proud of her curiosity and courage. "This is just the beginning, Mira," he said. "We have a long path ahead and it will not always be easy. But Mama trusted us and we can do this together." Mira nodded, her eyes bright. "I know, Papa, we will be brave like Mama." Ravi smiled, feeling a warmth he had not felt since Annika had passed. For the first time in years, he felt hope and determination. The cabin, the forest, and the hidden maps were no longer just remnants of the past. They were a path forward, a way to connect with Annika and carry on her mission. Before going to sleep, Ravi placed the new letters and maps back in the chest carefully. He looked at Mira and whispered, "Tomorrow, we will follow the next clue and continue discovering the life Mama lived quietly." Mira hugged him tightly. "I am ready, Papa. We will do this together." Ravi nodded, feeling stronger than before. The journey ahead was uncertain, but with Mira by his side and with Annika's guidance through the hidden clues, he knew they could face whatever came next. The mission was not only about helping others, it was about understanding love, courage, and the quiet strength Annika had left behind. That night, the cabin glowed with the warmth of the fireplace. Ravi and Mira slept, dreaming of the paths they would follow, the secrets they would uncover, and the adventures that awaited them in the forest. They were no longer just a father and daughter living in an old cabin. They were explorers, protectors, and the continuation of Annika's hidden mission. The forest outside remained silent, but Ravi knew it was only a temporary calm. Tomorrow would bring new discoveries, new challenges, and new chances to connect with the woman who had shaped their lives in ways he was only beginning to understand. The morning fog clung to the trees around the cabin, softening the edges of the forest. Ravi and Mira stepped outside, backpacks ready, hearts full of determination. Today they would follow the next clue on Annika's map. The previous day had revealed much about her hidden mission, But Ravi knew that the path ahead would not be simple. "Papa, do you think we can really do this?" Mira asked, her small hand holding his tightly. Ravi smiled gently. "Yes, Mira, we can do it together. Mama believed in us and we must trust ourselves too." They walked through the forest, careful to follow the winding path Annika had marked. Birds chirped in the distance and the soft rustle of leaves made the forest feel alive. Ravi noticed that the trees were thicker here, the ground softer with moss and the sunlight dimmer. The forest seemed to be keeping secrets just as Annika had. After nearly 2 hours, they reached the edge of a cliff overlooking a narrow river. The map showed that the next clue was across the water. Ravi studied the river and noticed a small old bridge, partially covered with fallen branches. The bridge looked weak, but it seemed sturdy enough to cross if they were careful. "Be careful, Mira," Ravi said. "Hold my hand and watch every step." Mira nodded, gripping his hand tightly. Step by step, they crossed the bridge. The wood creaked, and Ravi's heart pounded with every sound. Halfway across, a branch snapped under Mira's foot. She stumbled, but Ravi caught her immediately. "It's okay," he said. "You're safe." Once across, they reached a small clearing where an old cabin stood. It was smaller than the one they lived in, and looked abandoned for years. But Ravi noticed signs of recent activity: footprints, fresh smoke stains near the chimney, and a locked wooden chest outside. Ravi knelt beside the chest, examining it. The chest had a metal clasp and an inscription that matched the symbols in Annika's notebook. He pulled out the key they had found before. It fit perfectly, and with a click, the chest opened. Inside were more letters, maps, and a small folded paper with instructions. Ravi unfolded the paper. The instructions were clear but cautious. Annika had arranged for Ravi and Mira to deliver supplies to someone in danger. This was the first real step of her mission, and it would test their courage, intelligence, and ability to work together. Mira's eyes widened. "Papa, we're helping someone like Mama did?" "Yes," Ravi said. "And we must be careful. Mama trusted us with this because she knew we could do it." They studied the maps and notes, realizing that the supplies were hidden under a large rock near the edge of the forest. Ravi led Mira along a narrow path, careful to follow the landmarks Annika had drawn. The forest grew thicker and the shadows longer as the sun moved across the sky. Suddenly, a loud sound came from the trees, a branch snapping, then rustling closer. Ravi stopped and held Mira close. His soldier instincts kicked in. He scanned the area, but there was nothing visible at first. The sound came again, closer this time. "Papa, what is it?" Mira whispered, a hint of fear in her voice. Ravi took a deep breath. "Probably an animal, Mira, but we must be alert. Stay close to me." Carefully they continued. Soon they reached the rock where the supplies were hidden. Underneath they found a small bag with food, water, and a few medical supplies. Ravi checked the contents and nodded. Everything matched Annika's instructions. As they were about to leave, they heard voices. Men's voices, harsh and suspicious, approaching from the trees. Ravi's heart sank. He had not expected anyone else to be here. He motioned for Mira to stay quiet. "Papa, what do we do?" Mira asked softly, gripping his sleeve. Ravi whispered, "We hide. Stay close to me and don't make a sound." They crouched behind a large tree. From their hiding place, Ravi saw 2 men searching the area. They seemed to be looking for the supplies. Ravi realized immediately that these men could be dangerous. He had to think quickly. He remembered a narrow path to the river they had crossed earlier. If they could move quietly, they could circle back and escape. Ravi signaled to Mira, and slowly, carefully, they moved from tree to tree, keeping low and silent. The men were close, their voices growing louder, but Ravi's calm guidance kept Mira safe. After tense minutes, they reached a thick patch of bushes. Ravi checked the path ahead. It was clear. He whispered, "We can go now, Mira. Hold my hand and walk carefully." They moved fast but quietly, following the path back to the main trail. The voices behind them faded. Ravi exhaled slowly. They had escaped without being seen, and the supplies were safe. "Papa, that was scary," Mira said, still clutching his hand. "I know," Ravi said, "but you were very brave. We did it together." They continued to the small village marked on Annika's map. There they found the person who needed the supplies, a young man recovering from illness, living in a small hidden house. Ravi handed him the food, water, and medicine. The young man looked at them with gratitude and relief. "Thank you," he said softly. "I do not know who you are, but these supplies mean everything." Ravi smiled. We are friends of someone who cared about people, he said. Take care of yourself. Mira waved goodbye, feeling proud. We helped someone just like Mama did, Papa. Ravi felt a deep sense of pride and emotion. Annika's mission was no longer a mystery. They were living it step by step, learning courage, patience, and love. As the sun began to set, Ravi and Mira made their way back to the cabin. Their feet were tired and their hearts were full. They had faced their first challenge and they had succeeded. The forest, once quiet and mysterious, now felt like a place where they belonged. Back at the cabin, Ravi placed the new letters and instructions carefully in the chest. Mira wrote down her thoughts and feelings in her own notebook, keeping a record of their first mission. Ravi watched her, proud of her bravery, and quietly promised himself that he would always protect her while guiding her through Annika's path. That night, as they sat by the fire, Ravi thought about Annika. Her secret mission had been dangerous and complicated, yet she had carried it with grace and courage. And now her legacy was theirs. Papa, do you think we can do more tomorrow? Mira asked, her eyes shining with excitement. Yes, Mira, Ravi said, holding her close. Tomorrow we will continue. Mama trusted us and we must honor her by being brave and careful. For the first time since losing his wife, Ravi felt not just hope, but a strong sense of purpose. The cabin, the forest, and the hidden clues were no longer symbols of loss. They were a path forward, a way to connect with Annika and continue her mission. As the fire crackled, Ravi looked out at the forest. The journey ahead would be difficult. There would be challenges, dangers, and tough decisions. But Ravi knew one thing clearly. With Mira by his side, and with Annika's guidance through her letters and maps, they could face anything. And in that quiet cabin, surrounded by the warmth of the fire and the love of his daughter, Ravi understood that their lives had changed forever. The first challenge had been met, and now the true adventure of following Annika's mission had begun.